Come on in. Come on in. Now come on in. Now come. Sorry, y'all. Y'all know I'm weird. Whatever.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Bondi Blue. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Bondi Blue. Okay, follow me on Instagram and let's get into the video, right?
Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Bondi Blue, and I am back for another This Is Us review. I would like to let you guys know that in order to lighten my workload, I will not be reviewing Queen Sugar anymore. We'll talk about it on the ladies first panel. That is where I will give my opinions on the things that happen on Queen Sugar, and that's just how we'll do it because I'm doing way too many videos, and that specific show is not getting enough views for me to continue to do it, as well as This Is Us and, you know, some of the other shows that I do. So I'm trying to lighten my load. So that's what we're doing. All right, you guys. So the episode starts off with Uncle Nicky arriving to Kevin's place to see the kids. He says, "You don't have to worry. I've been vaccinated twice and I get tested at the VA for my meetings every week. You know, I got it together for y'all." And Kevin is like, "Wow, Uncle Nicky, I did not know you were going to just pop up like this. I'm surprised, but I'm so happy you're here. I can't believe you traveled all the way across the country to come and see the babies." And Uncle Nicky is like, "Oh, it was nothing." Truth of the matter is, it wasn't nothing. It was a lot. You guys, I actually watched this episode last night, but the first part of it got cut off because of the weather here. So the news kind of, they do a jump in or whatever, and you just don't get to see the first half of the episode, which is so aggravating to me. But I watched it on Hulu just now, and it made me so emotional to see the effort that Uncle Nicky had put into this visit. First of all, he had to call Once Upon a Time to teach him how to use Amazon. Okay, Once Upon a Time taught him how to use Amazon. That's what I call a lady. Just deal with it. And he orders all these things so that he can make by hand these little snow globes with miniature people inside. I was just like, oh my God, Uncle Nicky, like you put all of this effort behind it, going get tested and then getting vaccinated twice and everything. He just really went through a lot in order to travel across the world for the first time since Vietnam, okay, or across the United States since Vietnam, okay. This is the last time he traveled on a plane, all to see Kevin's kids, one of which he's named after Uncle Nicky. So it means a lot to him, and that's why he wanted to show up in the first place. Y'all know Uncle Nicky is a recluse, okay? He was in the Vietnam War with Jack. He got on dope. Jack tried to clean him up, but ultimately he ended up being a part of one of the Vietnamese kids' deaths. It wasn't his fault, but Jack blamed him for it. And so he has all this guilt. All, his life since the war, he's had this guilt because this is the thing that broke him and his brother up. Jack saw him treat the Vietnamese kid really badly. He was the Viet Cong and all of that. It was how you view people in war when you're fighting them and y'all are trying to kill each other. But ultimately, Jack was able to have some separation. He even fell in love with one of the Vietnamese women there and helped the kids and everything. That's just, Jack is a strong enough person to be in war and not allow it to change who he is as a person for real, So he was still able to be compassionate in these moments because they were living in these people's villages and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it would behoove people to have some decorum about themselves. Oh my God, who raised you? But anyway, Uncle Nicky did not handle it well, got on dope, ended up being, responsible in his kid's death. He ends up getting medevac back to the States and spends the rest of his life as a recluse in a trailer in the woods somewhere. Okay. So we see Nicky, Jack, and their parents before the war. Okay. Nicky's in his 20s, still living at the house with his parents. He has created this little, space shuttle miniature that he created because they're about to sit down and watch the moon landing. Okay. And Jack shows up with some beers and everything. The mom comes in with some little hors d'oeuvres, and she creates special hors d'oeuvres for Nicky. And the dad is, kind of an asshole. So when Jack comes in, he's like, sit next to your sister, Nicky, it's just like, oh God. But a moment ago, you were telling him that his little miniature space shuttle was kind of cool. So it was almost like the dad kind of puts on extra, he wants to be an extra asshole when Jack is in the room. I think because Jack threatens his manhood in the family in a way. Nicky doesn't. So I think the dad almost wants to be a tad bit softer around Nicky versus around Jack because of the personality that Jack is. You know what I'm saying? But all Jack can see is his abusive, drunken daddy treating his little brother like shit. So they go in the kitchen and he's like, why are you still living with them? Like, get out of here. And Nicky is like, I feel like if I'm here, I can protect mom a little bit better. He's not as bad when I'm here. And, you know, you look at them and they holding hands, watching the moon landing and everything. And Jack is like, you need to find you a girl. That's what you need to do. And Uncle Nicky is like, there's somebody I like that, you know. So we see Uncle Nicky the next day at his job. I believe he worked at like, you know, SPCA or something like that, where they take care of dogs and everything, maybe like a veterinarian hospital or something. And there's this girl there that he likes, and she is bohemian, and, you know, she's a hippie, and she wants to go and watch the moon, and she's into Zodiac. I mean, you know, it's the 70s, for God's sakes, the late 60s, early 70s, I'm sure. So people are into that, you know. And she's like, I'm going to go and watch the moon with Pearl. You know, it's really cool. Do you watch the moon? And he was like, no, you know what? My brother's kind of waiting for me, so I got to go. Meanwhile, Jack is standing by the door listening to them. So when he's coming out to leave, Jack is like, you know what? I heard you say you like the moon. My brother is a great person to look at the moon with. Okay. And the girl was like, I get your energy and everything, but I do not need your help asking your brother out. Nicky, would you like to go and watch the moon with me and Pearl tonight? And he's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, now he can say yeah, because he's kind of been pushed into a corner. So they go on the date. They look at the moon in her little van that she's kind of living out of. And they make out and they kiss and they start dating and they start hunching. And then she invites him to go to Woodstock with her. And after, they can go to San Francisco and stay at this farm that her friend has. And if they get bored there, they'll just go somewhere else and they can just live out of the van. You know, she wants to be a wanderer, a wanderer. I'm sorry, y'all had to do it. Cop and a half. Round and round and round and round. Anyway. In my life, okay, movie references. So he was supposed to go with her, but because of his parents, he didn't. Okay, one time in his life where he allowed fear to hold him back from doing something that he really wanted to do. So then we see Uncle Nicky after the war, looking a mess, living out of his trailer in the middle of the woods. Okay, all scary and dark and dim and shit. Okay, and he gets a call from Townie, one of the men who was in war with him, and they're having a get together because their sergeant is getting engaged, and they're having, you know, like a little get together down at the bar. And he knows that Nicky doesn't do these events a lot, but Jack is going to be there. So Nicky gets himself together, and then he sits in his trailer and obsesses, you know, like all nervous, like, am I really gonna go? And then he gets in a car and he sits in his car and obsesses, do I really want to get out of the car? You know, and I believe he had written something to explain what had happened in the war to Jack, so Jack wouldn't think he was a bad person. Jack showed up to the bar and he's talking to Townie about trying to create separation in his life from who he was in the war and the life he's trying to have and build with Rebecca. And Townie says, you need to put it away in a box in the back of your mind. And when it gets too much, take it out, deal with it, and then put all of that shit back in the box, but keep it separate from the life you're trying to build with that lady, you know, with Rebecca. Go ahead and propose to her if that's what you want to do, because that's what Jack wants to do. So Jack is like, all right, fine. So he's walking out of the bar and Nicky sees him. But instead of Nicky saying something, he sees the box. And I guess decided that because Jack is, you know, moving on with his life and getting engaged, that he didn't want to disrupt that. But it was still a place of fear. You're scared that he's going to reject you. And that's what you've been scared about this whole time. So you were looking for a reason not to go. Just like he was looking for a reason not to run away with old girl. You know what I mean? And he found that in his parents. So we come back to present time and we see Uncle Nicky in Once Upon a Time. She's wrapping a gift for him. Obviously, you know, still his bestest friend at this point. And I really appreciated that because Uncle Nicky is all by himself. And if he didn't have once upon a time checking in on him, going to meetings with him, and just being there for him, he would really be out here by himself because he isn't going to rely on Kevin and them because he doesn't want to inconvenience them. And it's also an attachment to Jack and a constant reminder of the pain he feels behind their relationship disintegrating the way it did and never fully fixing it before Jack died. That's a place of pain for him. And I think being around Kevin, as much as Kevin wanted to be there for Uncle Nicky had to heal that and deal with that himself before he could even be there for Kevin, you know? So she brings him to the airport, y'all. And this part in the airport really hurt my feelings. I'm not even gonna lie, it made me want to cry. He goes through security, has to take his shoes off, you know, but he did not know about the liquids. So he had to take the liquid out of the snow globes that he made for the kids, and he ended up dropping them and breaking them. And he kind of has this moment where it's like, shit, you know, in the middle of the airport. And I was so nervous. I was like, oh, Lord, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. But he eventually made it to Kevin's place. So we know that they didn't apprehend the man or nothing like that for having a moment. But it really broke my heart because he put in all that effort. Like he literally made the miniatures and painted them and everything. And it ends up, you know, all over the floor in the airport. And all he can do is pick up, you know, the little pieces and try to hurry up and go about his day before he missed his flight, right? So we get back to Kevin's, and Kevin is like, I can't believe you came all the way here. And he's like, oh, it was nothing. While they're talking, you know, Kevin has the tendency to run his mouth. You can see that Uncle Nicky is nervous and he keeps grabbing his arm. So Kevin goes to get his bedroom together for him. He's also very awkward with Madison. Like he just doesn't know what to say. One of them people that, you know, they're not around people a lot. So the things that come into their mind, they don't always know that it's inappropriate or something that they shouldn't say because they don't interact with other people enough to have, you know, that understanding of how they should, you know, deal with people. You should not mention that she must be, you know, beat up in the body department because she just had twins and she's so little. Like, can we not draw a reference to how the babies just beat up Madison's body as soon as we see her? You know what I'm saying? But either way, you know, Madison takes it with stride because she knows that Kevin is really in need of this familial connection, and Uncle Nicky showing up unannounced, but still showing up was really a good thing for Kevin. Okay. So that night, Uncle Nicky is in his bed and he can't sleep. He calls once upon a time. She can never sleep either. Something, you know, that they go through with the PTSD of it all, I'm guessing. But he wanted to run. He wanted to just leave in the middle of the night and go back to his trailer because it feels scary to be there, to be in their space. And also to be feeling this acceptance from family that he has this issue with. Not that he has issue with Kevin, but feeling undeserving. And that's what Once Upon a Time told him. She's like, you spent so much of your time by yourself feeling guilt, that feeling love from Jack's family, no less, makes you feel bad, you know, but it's something that you need to become comfortable with. Live your life because you haven't been living it thus far, you know, and you have to know that deep down inside, Jack would be happy to see you come all the way across the country to meet his great grandkids, like, well, no, his grandkids and your nephew's kids that are named after you. Like Jack would be happy about this. He wouldn't be rolling over in his grave. That's the guilt and the fear talking, you know, but she talks him through it, and he ends up taking the book that he was able to get. I'm guessing he got it at the airport, you know, since his gift was ruined. He didn't want to come empty handed. So he comes into the kids' room and he talks to them about how his entire life he hasn't been moving. He hasn't been doing anything. He hasn't been living. And the babies were the moon for him. And in this scenario, something that pulled him in different places. And he had been stuck in that spot until Kevin called and said he named his baby after him. And that really pulled him to wake up and live his life before it was over, and to rectify these guilt issues by showing love in a way that Jack can't. Jack isn't here anymore. His life was cut short, but his baby brother, who has a lot of his same memories of childhood and all of that, is still here. and therefore can carry on his energy and his legacy and his memory for his grandchildren in a way that he can't himself. And that is a blessing. If you have unresolved issues with one person, you know what I'm saying? You have unresolved issues with Jack, but you're able to be a father figure or a grandfather figure for Jack's grandkids when he can't be there. That is in a way a fix to a problem that you think you can't fix because the person is gone. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's such a blessing. And it's the thing I love about This Is Us, the ability to make life feel like it's never too late, even when a person is gone. You know what I'm saying? And that's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. But anyway, you guys, Kevin comes into the room that morning and sees Uncle Nicky sleep in the book and the note he left and a picture of him and Jack back when they were younger. And it was a picture that the girl that he was dating took of them, you know? So I'm looking forward to seeing Uncle Nicky be there with Kevin and the kids and what life is going to be like as the years go on and he's no longer a recluse. He's no longer in this space of feeling that guilt, but comfortable around his family and knowing that he's a part of it, you know? So yeah, y'all, it was a beautiful episode. They almost got me, but they didn't. My heart was broke when the snow globe broke. I'm not even gonna lie, but I'm not gonna cry. Okay, Mary J. Blige. Anyway, y'all, I love y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the review. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell everybody who you know that loves This Is Us about my reviews. Thank y'all so much, and I will see y'all in the next one.